There was a war brewing in Australia, and once the dust settled, out from it came an engine with potential beyond its designers' and engineers' wildest dreams. It was a rivalry akin to Carroll Shelby versus Enzo Ferrari in the 60s, but 30 years later, it was Ford Australia versus Holden, two giants that produced homegrown super saloons. And they were fighting not only on the racetrack, but also at the sales counter. Holden had the Commodore, which introduced Australia to the venerable LS, GM's billion-dollar experiment to replace a small block Chevy with something more modern, but still true to its pushrod roots. Ford Australia had a more clever and a much cheaper idea. Take the tried and true Ford Inline 6, give it a space-age makeover, and also give it a turbocharger to pressurize the intake charge. Well, the rest is literally history. It was codenamed the Barramundi. Yes, it's named after a fish, but with it, Ford Australia reeled in the hearts and minds of enthusiasts with a power plant that was easily tunable, produced unrelenting power, and was more reliable than the transmissions put behind them. In this episode of Explain, we get back to the roots of what made this channel popular. We break down what makes the Ford Inline 6 so good at one thing, making gobs of power effortlessly while destroying fuel and tires in the process. This is a story of when engineering, workmanship, and pride come together in a package that rivals even the best in Japan, Germany, and America. This is the Barra story.
To become an Australian legend takes years of dedication and experience.
In Australia, if you wanted to sell cars, you had to win on the racetrack. And for 3 straight years, Holden dominated V8 supercar racing.
Cygnus followed him all the way to the checkered flag. Well done, Russell Ingall. He takes out the first of 3.
The age-old Ford Falcon versus Holden Commodore rivalry was in full swing, and Holden wasn't just winning at the track, they were building legendary models under the Holden Special Vehicles, or HSV moniker.
HSV, or Holden Special Vehicles, is to Holden what M is to BMW.
One of these bombshells was the HSV GTS Series 2, featuring an imported power plant, the Corvette-based Gen 3 LS1, but reworked by legendary Corvette tuner Reeves Callaway. Its 6-bolt main bottom end wasn't touched, but a new camshaft CNC-ported cylinder heads with titanium valve springs, and using speed density tuning, since the MAF sensor was a restriction, all came together in a 300 kilowatt, which for us Yanks is a 400 horsepower package. It was the king of the hill in Australia, and Ford and Tickford Vehicle Engineering, which were the equivalent to HSV and Holden, didn't really have an answer for it. The Falcon's Intech 4-liter inline 6 and Windsor 5-liter and 5.6-liter V8s were relics, very robust and reliable relics, but relics nonetheless. A new engine and a new Falcon would need to be designed to bridge the gap Holden began to create. And Special Vehicle Operations Manager for Ford Australia, Gordon Barfield, would introduce the idea of turbocharging the 4-liter inline 6, and it would become internally known as Project Gull, because in his words, they knew it would shit on everything. 500 million Australian dollars to redesign the Falcon, and 24,000 hours of engine and durability testing later, a new homegrown engine would emerge, simply known as the Barra, and it was the answer to the imported LS. Sometimes we don't always have the answers. We get overwhelmed with expectations to make the new year the best year we've ever had, and often this can put unsurmountable pressures on you internally. I've struggled with this as a content creator, trying to grow my channel more and more every year while maintaining high quality, engaging videos, and it can get pretty overwhelming. What helps me process all these pressures and expectations is therapy. The sponsor of this video, BetterHelp, connects you to a well-qualified therapist to help process some of those feelings of inadequacy or falling behind you might have, and helps you develop a personalized timeline to reach goals on your terms rather than what's forced on us on social media. Just fill out a questionnaire and you will match with a diverse network of 30,000 plus licensed professionals to help navigate you to become the best version you can be in 2025. This year is a blank canvas ready for you to write a new story, and with over 7,000 reviews and a 4.5 rating on Trustpilot, BetterHelp is a trusted service to give you the tools and personalized help everyone needs. If you're struggling and want to start fresh, you can with BetterHelp. Just click the link in the description or go to betterhelp.com/337speed and get 10% off your first month of fully online individualized therapy to help make 2025 the year you deserve. The Barra's design had some advantages when compared to the ethereal Nissan RB and Toyota JZ inline-6 engines starting at the block. The Barra's iron block has extensive ribbing and reinforcement on the exterior, adding the rigidity needed for a long inline-6 engine that is susceptible to twisting and cracking under higher loads. The block is a closed-deck design like the JZ and RB to support the bores from deflection caused at higher cylinder pressures near top dead center, and while the JZ and RB were cast with a harder gray iron in Japan, the hardness is only one factor into the block strength. With a bore and stroke of 92.26 millimeters by 99.31 millimeters, the Barra is severely undersquare when compared to the oversquare RB26 and perfectly square JZ engine. The extensive stroke length gives the Barra excellent torque production from 2,000 RPM to 4,500 RPM, at the detriment of piston speeds becoming too great at higher RPM, therefore 6,000 RPM was chosen as the red line. Like all inline-6s, they have perfect primary and secondary balance since the engine mirrors itself from front to back, counteracting forces caused by reciprocating internals. The gravity-cast aluminum alloy cylinder head was a new design and a BMW-inspired twin-variable cam timing system with 60 degrees of seamless variation between advancing and retarding cam timing, giving the Barra increased exhaust flow at lower RPM to spool the turbocharger and increased economy at lower engine loads and smooth idle operation. The engine was force-fed by a single oil and water-cooled Garrett GT3540 ball bearing turbocharger. With a factory rating of 240 kilowatts or 322 horsepower, the Barra 240T engine was stout for 2002. Similar power to the LS1 and VY Commodores, and wasn't even the range-topping engine. But quickly, the Barra-powered XR6 turbo models would breathe life back into the Falcon. The potential of the Barra would immediately be explored by its owners, as the GT3540 turbocharger was comically oversized and capable of 600 horsepower worth of airflow maxed out. The plentifulness and variety of the Barra made them excellent builders' engines. For example, between the silver-top naturally aspirated engines, the red-top turbo engines, the black-top turbo territory engines, green-top E-gas engines, and blue-top FPV engines, they all had the same robust iron block and crankshaft that could withstand 4 digits of power. Where the differences lie is the pistons and rods. The 1R rods, colloquially known as the spaghetti rods, even though they can hold 400 kilowatts or 530 horsepower, are found in the silver-top naturally aspirated engines and the pre-2006 red-top turbo engines, and very short window of the green-top E-gas engines. The 3R rods, which are stronger but no replacement for aftermarket rods, are found in the post-June 2006 red tops, the blue top FPV engines, which they further strengthened with heat treatment, and green top E-gas engines, and black top territory engines. 530 kilowatts or 720 horsepower to the wheels is as easy as taking an E-gas green top short block from a taxi with the 3R rods, putting a turbo head with Inconel valves, adding head studs, valve springs, and oil pump gears, and adding all the boost in E85. Essentially Hellcat Red Eye numbers with a $300 taxi engine, which makes it a bargain when compared to the 2JZ and RB engines. In fact, the stock block and crank have seen north of 2,000 horsepower. While the Barra-powered Falcons were impressive at dyno days and drag racing events, it also was a very familiar sight to police agencies across Australia and New Zealand. The XR6 Turbo proved to be everything police agencies needed as a patrol car, quick, comfortable, and enough power to match those who exercise their free will by evading. Unlike the peak of the Ram rating era in the 90s where WRXs and Evos were outpowering and outmaneuvering patrol cars, the XR6 Turbos were fast enough to keep would-be Ram raiders thinking twice of trying to escape into the night on the motorway. It was such a great police vehicle, in fact, that attempts to convert them to left-hand drive for the US to replace the similarly sized Ford Crown Victoria happened in 2005 and 2009, but Ford executives in Detroit blocked both proposals. Holden would end up seizing the opportunity, exporting the Caprice as the PPV, or police patrol vehicle, with a modest V6 option or LS-based L77 6-liter V8 and the biggest pain in the ass called active fuel management. The Barra could have been in the States, but as fate would have it, the suits in Detroit always know what's best. The inevitable fate of the Falcon was sealed in 2016 when Ford Australia retired the Falcon name after 56 years of production. The Barra proved when Australian manufacturing, engineering, and design come together, it could really be a force to be reckoned with. Similar to how the LS, the Coyote, and the Hemi is to us Americans, the Barra is Australia's homegrown engine. And while the LS, the Coyote, and the Hemi have seen Australian shores, the Barra, well, Australia and New Zealand kept it all to themselves, and I don't really blame them.